Hi there, welcome back to Oops, I Planted Again. My name is Courtney, and in today's video, we're gonna go through my entire philodendron collection. I realized a couple weeks ago that I gravitate towards philodendrons, I think mostly because obviously they're beautiful, but they're really easy to care for. There's only one that I've actually had trouble with, and I'll talk about that in the video. And if you notice my background is a little bit strange today, that's because I have stuff everywhere because the relaunch of Oops, I Planted Again is tomorrow, September 18th, and by the time you see this video, on Saturday, September 18th, my website will be live, so make sure you click the link in the description box to check out my website, see what plants and other goodies I have. Now let's get into today's video. First up, we have Philodendron Brazil. So there's one behind me. I have this really cute one that is massive right here. I have two that'll be available in the store. I have cuttings everywhere. I love Philodendron Brazil. I can venture to say this is probably my most favorite. I know it's the first one, but it's probably my most favorite. I think because it grows really fast and it's beautiful and it propagates really easily. Some plants do not propagate easily, or they just don't, but I've never had trouble with propagating a Philodendron Brazil. I've done it in water, I've done it in moss, I've done it straight in soil with like rooting mix. I've propagated it in so many different ways, and I just love it. I love this plant. This is definitely one that I would recommend if you don't have it, especially if you're looking for something that's a little bit different than just a regular green plant, because it features such beautiful variegation. And I feel like the variegation on these plants is not talked about enough. And look how big this is. This was a really small piece, like not that long ago. I think I put 2 to 3 cuttings in here that I had rooted in water, and now it looks like this. I mean, it just grows so fast, and I just love the look of this. While I'm here, I might as well talk about this beautiful stunner. I'm not gonna take it down, but this is Philodendron cordatum. I think that's how you say it, cordatum. I'm probably wrong, but this is just the green or basic heartleaf philodendron. Another one that's super easy to care for. It's literally just the Philodendron Brazil, but just all green, propagates really easily. I love the shape of the leaves, which is very similar, obviously, to Philodendron Brazil. Super easy to care for as well, like a very common theme with philodendrons. And now we have the troublemaker that I was telling you about. I'm not even gonna take it out of its isolation bag just because I don't want the trouble. So this is a Philodendron verrucosum. If you can see that, you can kind of see the discoloration on the leaves. It was already semi-damaged. It was kind of a rehab for me when I got it locally in Austin. And I noticed a couple of weeks ago, because it was past the isolation period, it was in my collection, and I looked at it and I saw some white on the leaves, and upon closer inspection it was definitely mealybug, so I gave it a treatment, isolated it, and I've kind of kept it in here because I just don't want to deal with it. But it is growing a new leaf. If you can see that, it's kind of hard with the plastic, but this also acts as a little greenhouse, which I don't think is a bad thing. But I actually saw a video recently from Kaylee Ellen talking about this is one of the plants that attracts pests for her as well. Like, she just thinks it's one of those types of plants, and she keeps it isolated from her other collection. And that's probably what I'm gonna end up doing, because I think the new leaf is gonna be super gorgeous. However, I don't know if it's something that, I don't know if it's something that I'll put in the store, or if I'll do what I'll do with it. I honestly am just watching it for now, keeping it isolated, and it's in a window, on a windowsill in my office. And yeah, that's just where I keep most of my isolated plants, because I have a lot of space in there. Next we have Philodendron sodiroi, and this one is actually giving me a new leaf. I kind of buried it a little bit. I'm hoping you can see that. There's a new leaf right there. This one, I will say, isn't as fast of a grower as other philodendrons that I do have. This new leaf is literally brand new, within like the last week or two. So maybe, I don't know, I put it in a different spot. It's not under a grow light, it's in a windowsill, and that may be the reason that it is helping. it do this. I also have this one isolated as well. It was just close to the verrucosum, and I just wanted to take that precaution to isolate that plant. But there's nothing wrong with it. There's no pests or mites. I'm just overly cautious when it comes to my plants, obviously, because it's, you know, it's my business and it's what I do, and I also want to make sure that my plants are really healthy. But I will say that creating that little greenhouse environment, I think, has helped push this new leaf out. So I may just keep it in its little space and see what happens. Next is one of the newer plants that I have that I really don't know that much about. I got this in a trade at the first plant swap that I hosted back in, was that August or July? It was either August or July. I actually did film the whole plant swap process. I just never edited the video. I don't even think I started YouTube yet. But I think I will go back and edit that video and give some tips because I'm planning on hosting another plant swap in Austin. But anyways, I got this plant in a trade. It's a Philodendron gloriosum dark form. And honestly, I mean, I have nothing to say about it, to be honest. It's just been one leaf for a while. It has pretty decent roots. It was in water for a while. And this is the new, you know, hopefully the new leaf that comes out of this. And I can't wait to propagate this again because I just think it's a super gorgeous plant. But yeah, I have nothing bad to say, nothing great to say. It's kind of just hanging out, and hopefully I'll have a new leaf to show you soon. Up next we have Philodendron brandtianum. I actually have two. I have two of these cuttings, and I did a giveaway with one I think last month in August. Time is flying. I don't even know what the date is. But yes, I have two. I will say they grow pretty consistently. This is the newest leaf, and the other one I have is in my other room, and that one's growing a new leaf as well. I won't say it's super fast, but it's definitely not slow. And I have kept all of my cuttings in moss. I haven't transferred anything into soil, and I probably won't for a while. I just like moss because it's so easy. And I kind of like to wait till my cuttings have a couple of leaves before I transfer them into soil. It just makes me feel more comfortable, and feels like it's less of a risk, if that makes sense. But yeah, look at that little new leaf. It's so gorgeous, and I really love the coloring and like the design, I guess, of the leaves. I just think it's really gorgeous. And I was super happy when I found this plant because it was something that I saw it and I liked it, and I was like, oh, I want this, and I kind of found it rather quickly, which I am very grateful for. And right now I'm kind of diving into my bucket, which you've probably seen my whole setup in, I think, organizing my plant room video, and then probably another video, but I'll link that one in the card so you can kind of see how I keep most of my plants. This setup has been easy for me to maintain right now, but just depending on how much more inventory I'm getting, you know, plants coming in, plants going out, I may change that sooner rather than later, but I will keep you updated on that. Next we have Philodendron silver sword. Now this is just one cutting. I actually have a full plant. I just don't feel like getting it out right now. That's gonna be available in the store. But I took a cutting so I can make my own mother plant, and I actually did a giveaway with another cutting, which I'm really happy that I'm able to do that. With the place where I'm at in my life and my business, which is so exciting. But I have this cutting and it's grown 2 new leaves. This plant grows fast. Even where I cut from the original plant already has 2 new leaves sprouting. I mean, these grow so fast. Like, this is probably my fastest growing philodendron. And it kind of just sits in moss. I really like the stems of this plant because they're really thick and hardy. I feel like that has something to do with how it grows so fast and so stable. I haven't had any trouble with this plant at all, as I am accustomed to with philodendrons. But yeah, I really like this. I really like the look of the leaf, and I want you to be able to see how shiny that new leaf is. I feel like this isn't gonna focus. It's gonna focus, maybe? Yeah, there it is. That new leaf. Oh, I love that look. This one is the Philodendron Florida Ghost, and I actually just realized I have another new leaf. You probably cannot see this, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this because it's so tiny, but this one has another new leaf coming in. I will say this one, once this like new leaf was like kind of coming, it kind of shot up really fast, and I'm excited to see what this looks like. I got this plant in a trade, and oh, just moss. Woo! I get a little crazy with it, but I got this plant in a trade, really cute. I made a funny TikTok about this. I'll try to see if I can insert it in here because I think it's really funny.
Say hi, Daddy. Say hi, Daddy.
Hi, Daddy.
Whose goddamn white baby is that?
But this new leaf is really white to me compared to the original one, and I think the new one is growing from this little white one, so I think that one's going to be white too, and I'm excited to see what it looks like. I've kept it in moss the whole time because it was a cutting, and I probably won't transfer it to soil anytime soon just because it seems rather comfortable sitting in moss and I don't want to disturb it or bother it. So if my plants are doing fine, I'm not going to move them from a different medium just because I feel like it. If they're not doing fine, I will move them. Next up we have Philodendron Rio. This one, slow grower. I mean slow. It's literally just one cutting and it finally has roots. Look at me talking shit, and it actually has a really good root system, but I don't know what it was. For the longest time it just wasn't growing at all. But something I do think that may have helped is that I have these pins. They're like garden pins. I don't see them on here, so I can show you a full one. I don't really want to take this one out, but that silver pin in there helped kind of push down the little root that was on it, like the aerial root, push it down to touch the moss. And I feel like that has helped a lot because I haven't checked that in a while and that root is rather long. But like I said, I'm still gonna keep it in moss because moss is just my preferred medium. It's easy, quick, efficient, and cheap. But yeah, Philodendron Rio, I still will say this is a slow grower compared to my other plants. And even though it does have a root, I don't know if I see a leaf though. Yeah, I don't see a leaf, but it does have a root and it's cute and it's something that I wanted to have. So yeah. This next one was actually one that I was looking for and didn't know how soon I'd be able to get it, but it's a Philodendron burly marks, I don't know how you say it. However you say it. And this was only a one leaf cutting, unrooted, like nothing. And it's on its second leaf now, and I'm going to show a picture of the mature version, and that's kind of what I fell in love with. I just think it's such a beautiful plant. I will say I don't feel like it's super fast grower. It's not super slow. I'd say consistent. But I don't know if you can tell, there's a little new leaf I think popping off from this newest leaf. So that's exciting. I didn't notice that the other day. But yeah, I just leave it in moss, leave it alone, and don't touch it. Next up we have Philodendron micans. Now I have so many of these, like, oh my gosh, y'all do not understand. I have so many Philodendron micans. I mean, they grow at the speed of light. This is probably my fastest growing philodendron, easiest to care for. I have this one in soil, this one's in the shop. I have moss. Have I done it in water? I don't know that I've rooted in water, and I may try that just to see, but I have so many cuttings of this. They grow so fast. Like this, when I first put it into soil, maybe sometime this summer, it was just this right here. Just these, actually, was it just these two leaves? It might have just been two leaves, and it's literally shot up. It's just one of the easiest to care for and just grows so freaking fast. I can't say enough good things about this plant. And obviously the look is so aesthetic. I mean, I love velvety leaves and I've never had any trouble with this plant. Another new leaf growing there at the top. I mean, it's so gorgeous. This is one plant that I may attempt to climb with like a piece of wood. I do have another piece of wood from when I was working on my scindapsus, which you can see that video up here. I'll link it in the cards. I do have another board, but I may try because I have so many of these. They just grow so freaking fast and they're just so pretty. So here we have a Philodendron birkin, and when I first saw this plant, I fell in love with it. I wanted it so bad, and I actually got one that was a rehab for like $5 and it died off. And then I found it again at another nursery. I don't love this plant anymore. I will say that, and sometimes it happens. I don't love it. It just doesn't really give me any energy. I don't really feel like excited. I mean, it grows. I wouldn't say it's a super fast grower, to be honest. I'd say probably average, and the variegation is cute, but I don't know. There's just something about this plant that I don't love anymore, and I kind of don't know what I even liked about it in the first place. Is that, do I see something on here? I may be crazy. I just always think I see something, and I'm very like, I'm overly cautious when it comes to pets, obviously because I have like 200 plants. I don't think that's anything though. Always check under your leaves. Next we have Philodendron domesticum. Now these are fresh cuttings. I probably took them less than a week ago. And this is the top cut. It doesn't have any roots, but the mid cut does have some, which I think is awesome. I did put peroxide in here, and I tend to put peroxide in maybe like once a week, like I did with the other plants that I just showed you. But yeah, I have 2 in moss, 2 in water. And one of the ones in moss isn't doing great, but the other one is doing just fine. It literally, nothing's wrong with it. So I'm not really sure. I always check for pests, give it a treatment if I really can't tell. But it could be some type of watering or nutrient deficiency, which can tend to happen, and we're just learning and growing, you know, that's just what we're doing. But I do like these, and these are ones that I will be featuring in my pop-up that is the 25th of September. So I am excited, and I'll offer them as cuttings, and hopefully we have a little bit more roots though. But I do love this plant, and I think it's really gorgeous. It's one of the first like bigger philodendrons that I got, and it was really huge, and then I chopped and propped, but yeah, she's cute. Next we have the Philodendron bipennfolium. Now if you notice, these newer leaves are quite different from the original one. So when I first got this, it was 2 leaves, a cutting that both of the leaves look like this. I grew the roots, grew the plant. I think I grew it in moss or water. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've had this plant. And then I eventually transferred it to soil. One of the leaves died off. So it was kind of just sitting there hanging out, not doing anything. And I realized that the pot that I had it in was a little bit too big. So I repotted it. And then I remember posting a video about this on TikTok. And if you're not following me on TikTok, follow me right here at Oops, I Planted Again. That I wanted to put in a smaller pot and tilt it so that I could expose this is a dead this is the dead leaf, to expose the chunk, and I just kept it hydrated, and I feel like that's why they have turned out so gorgeous. Like the new leaf I'm in love with. I just think it looks so cute, and it has another new leaf growing. And I do have this under grow light, which is different than where it was at before. It was kind of just sitting on my shelf, but I mean, once I kind of made the pot smaller so that the plant could focus on growing new foliage instead of more roots, I have 2.5 leaves growing. I mean, it's doing exceptional. I kind of want to chop it and prop it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it alone. I tend to propagate a lot, but I'm going to leave this baby alone because I just think she's fine. She's growing. I don't want to bother her. And this is my Philodendron Burl Marks. This is like the Burl Marks Fantasy, just minus the fantasy. And I did get this just as a cutting. It was just this leaf, and it's grown all of these other ones. I will say it's fairly quickly growing, and it has multiple growth spots. I kind of want to take it apart though, because they're kind of growing out and not from the center, which I don't love. But then again, nothing's wrong with the plant, so I might as well leave it alone and not bother it, because they tend to bother my plants sometimes and they don't like it. And last but not least is my Philodendron Hope. I actually talked about this plant in a previous video where I talked about how I healed it from mealybugs and thrips, and I will link that video above. But I absolutely love this plant, and it's one of the few big plants that I do have in my collection, another one that is very easy to care for despite having the pest infestation. And that is all of the philodendrons that are in my current collection. And I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and tell me in the comments below what your favorite philodendron is.